So this is the first impressions of the Dart Zone Pro MK4. What do we have in the box? This is the blaster, safety goggles, just like we've seen on some other models, flip-up sights, which can be added to the Picatinny reel. It included 30 bamboo 2X darts, but we already used them. Also included is an injection molded scar barrel, just like we know from the worker scar, basically. Replacement O-rings, the supercharged muzzle to increase the barrel length and the velocity of the darts, and 2 magazines. And of course also a weaker spring for lower performance, because the more powerful spring is already installed in the blaster. So the MK4 is a big spring powered performance blaster, with its main feature being the performance, but with different springs, the barrel extender, and the scar barrel. You can use it in a range of different scenarios. So let's walk through the blaster from front to back. On the front there is, it's not an end strike attachment point, but there is an attachment point where you can mount the supercharged muzzle, which clicks into place and extends the barrel for better performance. If you remove the barrel, you can add the scar barrel. Moving back, we have the perm grip, which is really large, but in our testing is really comfortable to use. It's just ergonomically, it feels great. On top of the blaster we have the Picatinny reel and the included flip-up sights, but you can also use different accessories, of course. In the middle of the rail there's a lock bypass button, so if you prime the blaster you cannot pull the priming handle back. If you pull the lock back you can move the priming handle back, and if you want, deprime the blaster safely. The magazine well has, as we know from other blasters from Dart Zone, the dual magazine release, so it is compatible with Talon magazines out of the box. The blaster does not have a skinny pusher, but the magazines have a small slot in them, which make the feed lips more flexible. So even when the breech is closed, you can just load the magazines without a problem. This won't work with worker Talon magazines, but of course you can still prime back and use them like normal. These magazines just make it possible to load them and pull them out without priming the blaster. The magazine release is actually quite big and really comfortable to use. Whichever style you like, you can just grab it like that, or if you're used to just pushing it with your finger, that's also quite, well, if you practice a little bit, that's quite easy. It's big enough for that. The grip is feels really nice in my opinion. It has a rubber overmold, which is basically the same as we had on the MK2.1, which just feels nicer and it stays in place better compared to like the rubber sleeve, for example, from the MK3. Just it's quite big, it's comfortable, the rubber has a nice grip, it feels nice. On the back of the blaster we find the stock, which attaches with a similar system to the end strike attachment point, but as the spring force is quite large, it is secured with a screw on either side of the stock to keep it in place. It's also not the easiest to replace it with another stock, as the spring rests inside the stock, like we know from blasters like the Prophecy, for example. On the back of the stock, this rubber pad, first of all, it feels nice and it is removable, so you can store the included scar barrel there so you don't lose it when you're not using it. The springs are for about 2/3 or 3/4 coated with yellow coating, so if you prime the blaster you can easily see from the yellow color that it's primed. If you want to swap the spring, you remove the screws securing the stock in place. I already deprimed the blaster so the spring won't shoot out. Just remove the screw and then you can swap out the spring. Put in the other spring, put that in, add the screw again, and you swap the spring. Something we immediately noticed with the MK4 is how smooth the prime is. It's really super smooth compared to a lot of other blasters. With the included low power spring, it's also possible to prime it like in the Terminator movie, which is really cool to do. it's something different than we're used to. We did an extensive test with 3 different dart types and all possible combinations with barrels, car, etc. All those FPS numbers can be found in a blog, and the link to the blog is in the description under the video. We will continue testing the Dart Zone Pro MK4. I think there's a lot of potential. Next week we will release a modification video where we take the MK4 up to 300 FPS, so stay tuned for that. The blaster is now available for pre-order on Blaster Time on the web shop, which is meant for people in Europe. If you live in the US, you can pre-order it from the dartzoneblasters.com website. The estimated ship date is in August, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Until the next one.